everyone. Welcome back to True Crime Buzz. I'm your host, Amber, and with me, as always now, is Miss Britney.
Hello.
You drinking Diet Coke or Sam's Diet Coke?
Diet Sam's Cola, okay?
Diet Sam's Cola, my bad. And I am drinking, per usual, some red wine.
Is it Rex Goliath?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I guess the COVID clouds are slightly lifted because I am finding it again in grocery stores, so hallelujah.
Well, I was just about to, have to start buying it for you at this point.
Do you see it in your grocery stores?
Yeah, all the time. There's no shortage here.
I must live near somebody who also shares the passion of Rex Goliath because it's usually out of stock when I go. But lately it's been in stock. So I have both red and white. Feeling extra sassy.
I feel like you should befriend that person and you guys can just split the Rex Goliath, every week.
Dude, I wish I knew who it was because I definitely would. We could have little Rex Goliath parties.
Yes,
I
agree.
Fine with that. But then also, okay, you buy up all the bottles this week, and then next week I'll buy up all the bottles. We would need to set out a schedule so that we can both have some.
I think that's the adult thing to do here.
Those are true COVID problems, finding your favorite wine.
They are. Well, finding much of anything has been true COVID problems.
That's true. It started out with toilet paper, then it went to wine. Or at least for me. Did you have anything besides toilet paper that you ran out of and you couldn't find?
Diapers in our child's size. She wore a size 5 and there was literally every size but size 5.
Really?
I had to go up a size and they were so big they were just hanging off of her, so.
Oh. Those are true COVID problems. I'm over here bitching about my favorite wine not being in stock, and meanwhile you have an actual child who doesn't have proper diapers.
But she was old enough too that I could have been like, all right, well, we're just gonna force potty training. You can't really force potty training, but I could have tried.
You're like, now's the day to start.
Now's the day. Or we could have just put down some plastic wrap throughout the house and just made do. But
oh, Jesus.
Some people were hoarding formula, baby formula.
I did hear that formula was an issue. Obviously, I don't know that, but I've heard that was an issue.
Well, luckily, I was able to breastfeed my daughter, so I didn't have that problem. But can you imagine, your baby being hungry and you go to the store and there's no formula?
Oh my God. I don't know what do you do?
It depends on how old they are, I guess.
Be like, all right, now's the day you're going to learn how to eat real food.
Yeah. 6 months is when you're supposed to start that. But I guess it's I swore I was going to wait till 6 months, but COVID happened and we had to do it at 5. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so lucky that I didn't have to deal with that. But people got out of control with this COVID stuff. But I'm just glad you have your Rex Goliath back.
Thank God for small miracles.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get started, we just heard from one of our favorite fans of this podcast, Miss Brienne.
Yes.
I don't know you, but I love you.
I know you, and I do love you.
She just sent Britney a news update. I'm talking hot off the presses because this just happened today. The title of the news article is Britney Spears' father loses bid to retain control of delegating her investments. And Britney and I both just did the biggest, happiest dance and screamed and
I'm so happy. I literally could cry and that feels so stupid. But if you guys have not watched the Britney Spears documentary, Framing Britney Spears, go watch it because you will view everything. Even if you're not a Britney fan, I feel like you would view it in a different light. I am a fan and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Of course, we were kids when that happened. So maybe that's why I view it so differently now. But thank goodness. Good riddance, Jamie Spears.
For real.
Goodbye.
So I'll read just a little bit of this article, but I will post it in our show notes for everyone to read the full article. So Britney Spears' battle to remove her father's conservatorship over her estate continued today as a judge denied her father's objections to how her conservatorship will be delegated. Hallelujah.
Mm-hmm.
Britney Spears filed a petition with the court last year to remove her father and to place a financial institution as the sole conservator over her estate. Her attorney argued last year that the singer was afraid of James, aka Jamie Spears, and would rather a professional financial institution take over her estate. LA Superior Court Judge Brenda Penny denied the singer's petition last year, but appointed Bessemer Trust, which we all know about, as co-conservator along with Jamie Spears. So that was the last major update. And then I guess as of today, it appears that Jamie Spears is no longer part of that financial conservatorship.
Thank goodness.
So he's still technically part conservator, but it's highly reduced. He's no longer over the financial stuff. So another hearing on the conservatorship is scheduled to take place next month. So this is to be continued. But as of today, you know what? Small victories.
Small victories for our girl.
But anyways, what story do you have for us today, Brittany?
Well, today I am covering a man that I only just heard about for the first time ever, which is kind of bizarre, around this past Christmas. A man who, when you look at him in pictures and listen to him talk, he seems like the sweetest little old man.
Mm-hmm.
He was a fantastic artist, but each of his extraordinary paintings and sketches comes with a horrifying and sad story. He is the most prolific serial killer in U.S. history, and his name is Samuel Little.
I'm so excited for this, and I have to be honest. For some reason, I would immediately go to Stuart Little and not Samuel Little.
What?
I know. Even Sam was like, who are y'all covering tonight? And I'm like, well, it's Brittany's turn, and she's covering. And I had to like pause, and I was like, Samuel Little. It's only his name. It's only my husband's name, but I still had to sit and be like, it's not Stuart Little. It's Samuel Little.
All I can think of is little Stuart Little, the mouse.
Yes!
That's it.
The cute little mouse on his little motorcycle.
Okay, but I'm telling you, if you look at pictures of Samuel Little, like, he just looks like a sweet little old man. Obviously, he is not.
Well, either way, I only know the basics, in that he did have a very high kill count, and that he recently died, as we said in one of our episodes. And that's about it. So class is in session for me.
Yes, so speaking of kill count, I think that I will start there just to give some insight for people that aren't really sure, like, where this lines up with other really prolific serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
The Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway, he only had 49 murders. Now, that is the highest conviction. Compared to Samuel Little. So that's the highest conviction number for murders, but not the highest murders. Okay. Ted Bundy was connected to 36, and then John Wayne Gacy was convicted of 33. But Samuel Little confessed to 93, and they have connected him to 60. So he's way over. Okay, that's why he is the most prolific. So Samuel Little was born on June 7th, 1940, to 16-year-old Bessie Mae Little and 19-year-old Paul McDowell. The 1940 census listed Bessie's job as a maid, though Samuel claimed his whole life she was a teenage prostitute. Again, I say teenage and sex worker or teenage prostitute. That doesn't exist. Those are victims, okay?
Correct.
But that's his words, not mine. He actually, a lot of his life, used the alias Samuel McDowell after his dad, who was Paul McDowell. He was raised by his paternal grandma, and it is believed that his mother actually gave birth to him while she was incarcerated.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, so whether she was in sex work involuntarily, I say, but whether she was in sex work or not, obviously she was having some rough times. I mean, pregnant at 16 and incarcerated.
Yeah.
He had a really hard time at school. He eventually dropped out. He started stealing as a teenager and was put in juvenile detention. And then from then on, his crimes intensified. And so what I'm going to do, because I'm going to give a really distinct timeline, but I'm going to go over some of the basics first because...
Okay. Because it's a lot.
So in the 1950s, he moved from state to state, racking up charges for DUIs, fraud, assault, armed robbery, rape, kidnapping, etc.
He was just breaking all the rules.
All the rules. By 1975, he had been arrested 100 times across 11 states.
Oh, damn.
Yes.
Was he going for a record? Like, was he trying?
He must have been.
Did he call up Guinness World Records and be like, yo, hold my beer?
I felt like he had to have.
That's a lot.
It is. It is. In total, he served 10 years for these wide range of offenses, and he escaped 2 murder convictions before his 2014 conviction. And Samuel says that during his time in prison, he learned to box and could have become a prize-winning boxer, but chose not to pursue that.
He could have been a boxer? Wow. Okay.
I rolled my eyes so hard. He really might have been a good boxer, but it's like, if you could have been a prize-winning boxer, like, why not do that instead of what else you chose to do with your life?
That's a good question. Because at least in boxing, you have a ref that goes, whoa, 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 don't kill this dude. You win.
Right. Yes. Also to note, because you're going to wonder several times throughout this timeline, how did he kill this many people? How did it go unnoticed?
Mm-hmm.
I kept saying how, but it makes sense, sadly, and it's really fucked up how he was able to do this. But many of Samuel's victims were marginalized young Black women who were estranged from their families and struggling with poverty, addictions, that sort of thing. And so their deaths didn't draw as much attention or outrage as like white killings or, affluent,
Right.
So that's how he was able to get away with this for so long. That's really sad, but should be noted because that's 100% how he got away with this stuff for so long. Okay, so now we're going to jump right into the timeline. February 1954. So he was, 13, 14 at this time. He was committed to the Boys Industrial School, a reform school for teens near Columbus, Ohio, for stealing a bicycle. During his 1.5 year there, he had been written up 47 times for disciplinary problems.
Okay, again, this dude is either trying to hold the record or he literally doesn't give a fuck about anything or anyone.
Yeah. I mean, this is like from 13 to 14 and a half, 47 times for disciplinary problems. Like right then and there, if this had been different times, somebody should have stepped in. Of course,
definitely
not those times, but hindsight's 2020, Then in November of 1956, he was arrested in Omaha, Nebraska, and was sent to juvie for burglary. Then in 1961, he was charged with burglary at Lorraine Furniture Store, Lorraine, Ohio, where he was raised by his grandma. And he was convicted and sentenced to serve 3 years. And he did.
Okay.
And then January 31st, 1970, his first victim, her name was Mary Brosley, and she was 33. He met her at a bar in North Miami Beach. He drove her to a secluded part of the Everglades, strangled her to death, and buried her in a shallow grave.
And this was his very first victim?
Confirmed victim.
How old was he?
1970, so 30, yeah. And as we get into the story, you'll see, like, this is the first confirmed, we know, but, like, there could have been more before that.
Oh, I'm sure there was. There's no way he would have just started at 30-something
out of
years
nowhere,
old.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then in May of 1971, he was charged with armed robbery in Cleveland, Ohio. While awaiting trial, he was also charged with sodomy. There was no details on that I could find, but...
That's all the detail I want.
Yep. He was found not guilty of robbery and never tried on the sodomy charge.
Okay.
I mean, it's not quite as bad as Scott Lee Kimball because he obviously did time for some of these things, but still, there's times it's like, oh, that could have been the one that stopped this, Then in 1972, he met Aurelia Jean Dorsey, and she went by Jean. She was 30 years older than Samuel. In the 1970s, they moved around the Midwest and South, shoplifting, burglarizing, and selling the stolen goods to stay afloat. He was often arrested for these crimes, but barely did any jail time. Later in life, Samuel would confess to multiple murders in the Midwest and South during this time. However, the victims remain unknown. Jean was Sam's traveling partner and crime partner until 1988 when she died from a brain hemorrhage.
It was like a little Bonnie and Clyde situation.
100%.
Not that we should sympathize with that, but you know what I mean. Like, it was like he had a little buddy.
Yeah, and I don't know that in any way she knew that he was murdering. There was nothing to indicate that. Obviously, he would say he would take these women out to secluded places and kill them. He never said Jean was there. There's no reason to believe she knew. So she might not have even known. I mean, the other stuff they were doing, stealing, not cool, but it's not murder,
Yeah, but she was still like his crime partner at the same time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Then, in November 1976, a victim outside of St. Louis, Missouri, comes forward and says that Samuel choked her from behind with an electrical cord, forced her into his car, beat her unconscious, drove her somewhere secluded, and raped her. He was charged with intent to ravish or rape, which I didn't even know that was a charge, and he served only 3 years in county jail for this.
Attempt to ravish. That just sounds awful.
It does. Because it makes it sound less rapey, and that's not cool.
Because they even throw it in there like attempt to ravish, in parentheses, or rape.
But of course, people don't do a lot of time for sex crimes most of the
Which
time.
is crazy.
So 3 years. It is, especially considering all the times he had done jail time for other violent crimes, armed robbery, kidnap. Like, what?
And he didn't actually murder this girl. He just attempted to ravish her.
Yeah, well, he raped her. They just charged him with intent too. But only 3 years. Then in November of 1982, he is arrested for shoplifting in Mississippi after cops realize that he matches a suspect description in the death of Melinda Rose LaPree. He gets charged with her murder, but a grand jury refuses to indict him, and instead, he is extradited to face charges for another rape and murder in Gainesville, Florida. So the grand jury is like, nope, Gainesville, you can have him.
So obviously we started out the story that he gets around, but he really gets around.
He does. He's all over the U.S. All over. So then in January of 1984, Samuel is, he's in Gainesville at this point, and he's tried for the murder of a woman he was seen leaving a bar with in 1982. This woman was named Patricia Ann Mount, and her body was later found in a field bruised and naked. Jurors deliberated for less than 30 minutes and acquitted him of all charges.
You are joking.
No, I'm not joking to you.
Normally, when a jury discusses that little of time, it's an easy guilty verdict.
Right.
But they did that just to say, nope, he's not guilty.
No, I mean, he was just facing murder charges and then let go, and now he's facing these murder charges, like...
I mean, I know that, like, a rap sheet has nothing to do with the crime that they're currently reviewing, but, like... I don't know.
Well, you've got to remember, again, these are people who are down on their luck, probably not in touch with their family, they're sex workers, they're addicts,
They're nobodies
the people,
back in that time.
They're nobodies at this point in time. They're the scum of the earth in
so
this
what
time,
does it matter?
Frame.
Right.
Yeah, so, and of course they were not scum of the earth, but, that's how it was viewed. So they just didn't care. Also, sometime during 1984, so after he was let out, he killed Mary Jo Payton and Frances Campbell. He later confessed to these and his involvement was confirmed. Then, in October of 1984, he was arrested for 2 assaults in San Diego and later tried for attempted murder. The jury deadlocked and he then pled guilty to assault and false imprisonment and ended up serving 2.5 years.
I have no words. I have no fucking words.
I wish that our listeners could see your face. You're just like, what?
I feel like this is like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, but like the murdery, rapey version.
Well, I think you would have called this Where in the World is Stuart Little.
Where in the world is Stuart Little? Correct.
Instead of Samuel Little. I love it. So in 1987, he is released after serving his 2.5 years, and he moves to L.A. In July of 1987, he kills Carol Alford and dumps her body in an alleyway. Samuel later admits to killing 7 women in L.A. that year, one of them being Carol. The other 6 victims' identities remain unknown. Then, in August of 89, he kills Audrey Nelson. And then in September of 89, he kills Guadalupe Apodaca. Then, in the 1990s, Samuel later told the FBI that he killed numerous women in the 90s throughout LA, the South, and Ohio. In 1991, Samuel steals a carton of cigarettes in Lorain, Ohio, so back where he was raised, and hit someone while trying to get away. He was arrested and charged with aggravated robbery. What?
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm supposed to be taking this serious, and I promise I am. But when you said that last little bit about he stole a carton of cigarettes and hit some woman on his way out, is that what you said?
Yeah, he hit someone. I don't know if it was a woman,
okay.
But someone. Yeah.
I literally thought of that part on this episode of The Office where Toby was talking about self-defense and how it was to strike him in the head, yell, and run away. And then, what's his name? Creed. So he stands up, hits Meredith in the back of the head, goes, yep, and then runs out the office.
Yes.
That's literally what I just pictured Samuel Little doing.
Okay. I was like, what?
Anyways, continue with your story.
So then, 1991 is when he stole the carton of cigarettes, hit someone, and was charged with aggravated robbery. In 1998, 7 years later, he is finally tried for the robbery in 1991.
Holy shit.
Right?
7 years later.
Yeah, that's not a speedy trial, okay? But he was sentenced to 2 years in prison for that. Then, in 2005, Samuel Little strangles and kills a woman in Tupelo, Mississippi, named Nancy. Police believe that Nancy is actually Nancy Carol Stevens, a woman whose body was found on the side of the road that August. Then, in 2007, Samuel is arrested for possession of cocaine in L.A., He pled guilty and was ordered to attend a drug rehab program. When he failed to show up, a warrant was issued for his arrest.
They should have known he wasn't going to show up.
Mm-mm.
No.
This man's out here killing people left and right. He ain't worried about a little booger sugar.
Yes.
Booger sugar. Yep. So, on September 5th, 2012, while living at a homeless shelter in Louisville, Kentucky, he is arrested and extradited back to California for the narcotics charge. And then in January of 2013, LA detectives realized that Samuel's DNA matches DNA found at the crime scenes for Carol Alford, Audrey Nelson, and Guadalupe Apodaca for their murders. They then charged him with 3 counts of murder and special circumstances for multiple murders. I don't even know what that charge means, but he was charged with it.
Well, shout out to advancements in DNA testing.
He was born in 1940. This is 2013. Years and years of killing and doing crazy crap.
All the way to 2013. That's crazy.
So then in September 2014, Samuel's trial was pretty quick, and he was found guilty on all 3 counts of murder. At sentencing, Samuel screamed, "I didn't do it!" But that didn't stop him from being sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole.
He literally screamed out in the court, "I didn't do it."
Yeah, I didn't do it. I bet there's a clip. If there's a clip, we gotta find it.
If there is, I will link it in our episode, because I gotta find it now.
Yeah. No, it's gotta be found. So then in early 2018, Samuel Little had been maintaining his innocence up to this point, denying any involvement with the Alford, Nelson, or Apodaca murders. But Texas Ranger James Holland worked hard to gain Samuel's trust. And then in 2018, Samuel decided to let James Holland start interviewing him. Mr. Holland enlisted the help of FBI analysts Christy Palazzolo and Angela Williamson. And in 1.5 years' time, Samuel ended up giving the authorities 650 hours worth of interviews.
Holy cow.
Samuel's final victim count was 93, but Samuel said that he quit counting after 84.
Oh my God.
And it should be noted that Samuel would often sketch or paint portraits of his victims from memory, and they are spot on. And I mean, I'm not trying to sing this man's praises because he was like the devil, but they're really good. And from memory, it's creepy. Like, it's so creepy that he could do that.
Wow. I can't wait to look at them. Not to give him,
Yes.
cred or anything, but I do want to see these paintings.
Well, I'm about to go into this, but it should be noted, they're not like graphic photos. These are just portraits of women.
They're just portraits.
They're not,
right.
Yeah, it's not something you're going to see over on Murderpedia, like, look at this graphic stuff. It's just a nice portrait of a person. And there's reasoning behind that. On August 18th of 2018, he was interviewed. This is the only reporter that ever got to interview him, by Jillian Lauren, and we will post the link for her interview on our episode because when I found out that Samuel Little died and I didn't know about anything about him, that's the first thing I read. And I mean, amazing interviews with a killer that I've ever read. So we will link that.
Ooh, I can't wait.
So the whole time that she's interviewing him, he called his victims his babies or his ladies. He didn't speak foul of them. Like, and if you were to like speak foul of them, like, it would upset him.
So he was almost like kind of possessive of them. Like,
yes, possessive, but like in a loving way. It's kind of strange. Like, he called them his babies.
Weird. Okay.
Throughout this interview, the whole time, he would always try to find the least offensive term. He would say like a whore, and then he'd be like, I mean prostitute. Like, he would search his mind to be not offensive. So that's also strange. And he actually told Jillian, he was quoted as saying, quote, "I live in my mind now with my babies in my drawings. The only things I was ever good at was drawing and fighting," end quote. She also said that Samuel believed these women were already half dead because of their addictions and like the life they were living, and that they were just waiting around for him to show up and finish the job.
Oh, that's really sad.
It is. It is sad, but like this is how he justified it, okay?
Right.
And so like one of the victims, I remember in the article, he said, I was at a bar and this woman like just touched her neck, and I knew that that was a sign from God that I needed to kill her.
Oh, that's chilling.
Other times, though, he believed he was the devil. He really had this like devil and angel thing on his shoulder going on. So it's very different. I've never met a serial killer I've never met a serial killer, period.
That you know of.
No, I was going to say that talks about their victims in like a loving and kind way. So that's also just super weird to me and really messes with my head a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm searching through my brain. Like, there's got to be another killer that did that, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I can't either. It's different. It's very different.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, then in December of 2018, Samuel struck a plea deal to avoid the death penalty and pled guilty also to the 1994 murder of a woman from Odessa, Texas, named Denise Christie Brothers. He was given another life sentence. So then, in August of 2019, Samuel pleads guilty to 4 more murders of women in Ohio. Anna Stuart, whose body was found in Columbus in 1981. Mary Jo Payton, who was killed in 1984, and Rose Evans, who was killed in 1991 in Cleveland, Ohio.
He just keeps coming back to Ohio.
I know. Well, that's where he was, raised for his life, so I guess that's why. He was also charged with the murder of an unknown woman whose body has yet to be found, but Samuel says he killed her over 30 years ago, and he was given 4 more consecutive life terms, bringing his life sentences up to 8.
Holy cow. I wonder, though, at this point, I know you're not finished, but, like, is this guy had charges in every state of the lower 48 at least? I feel like he's been in every state doing something.
Well, we're getting to that. Okay.
I
don't exactly know the exact answer to that, but we're getting to kind of how that rolls out.
Okay.
So in October of 2019, the FBI confirms that Samuel Little is the most prolific serial killer in the U.S. history. That's also when they released a timeline of Samuel's crimes and his confessions on FBI.gov. You can go watch these. They're not super graphic. I listened and watched.
Mm-hmm.
But they did that in hopes of being able to identify more victims. While Samuel has been confirmed to have killed 60 people, that still leaves 33 more that he confessed to in great detail and even sketched, but the bodies haven't been found or,
Wow.
Unfortunately, because those cases haven't been closed, Samuel Little passed away on December 30th, 2020, after battling a slew of health conditions such as heart problems and diabetes at age 80. Which, like I said, it's unfortunate since there are so many victims and families. They don't have closure. They don't have their daughters to bury. However, it should be noted that right up until his death, Samuel cooperated with James Holland and the FBI to try to help find his victims, and that even at the time of his death, more murder indictments against Samuel were being filed. And I actually looked up some of the ones that were being filed before he died, and they are all over the place. I'm talking South Carolina, California, Ohio, Florida, just here, there, everywhere.
It really seems like he's been through every state and killed someone in every state, at least.
Yes. So obviously he can't be charged with those, but I'm hoping
Right.
that some of those that, he was being indicted for, hopefully they're finding some answers for these families. But, shout out to crazy old Stuart Little, Samuel Little, for being so cooperative and trying to help bring these families closure. I mean, he was a horrific, crazy psychopath of a man.
Mm-hmm.
Who did horrible things and justified them by being an angel of mercy. But I'm always glad when people that do horrible things try to help these families. So I would encourage all of our listeners to go and look at the FBI.gov page. We'll also link that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe somebody out there knows something or knows somebody that matches up with these pictures, and maybe these families can get some closure.
That's so sad, though, that there's that many women that he's literally described in detail and no one's claiming them or no one's saying this person's missing and they're able to like match it up. You know what I mean? Like that's just, it's awful.
And in that article by Jillian Lauren, she actually interviews some of the victims' families. She interviews this one woman's sons and their mother. I can't remember who it was. It says in the article, but they had said that their mother had been in and out of their lives, on and off drugs. At one point, she stole their Christmas presents and tried to sell them to get drug money. And it was horrible and it was awful. But that's just how some of these people's lives were going. And so a lot of them hadn't spoken to their family in years.
They don't know where they are.
So that's why it's difficult. But
alive,
hopefully,
dead.
Eventually
God.
one day, all 93 of these cases will be closed and all 93 people's families will have closure.
I hope so.
And what's crazy about that to me is that, so he can't remember the exact date. He can't remember how far he drove them out, this or that, little details like that. But he can paint these women exactly as they were by memory.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
Love our podcast? Then hit that subscribe button and leave us a review.
We're also on Patreon. Head on over to patreon.com/truecrimebuzz and join today for access to all our exclusive content, including bonus episodes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TC Buzz Podcast.
And check out our website at www.truecrimebuzz.com.
Until next time, cheers!